Today marks 1257 days sharing lessons I learned and continue to learn with all of you. My hope that these insights will inspire you, support your dreams, help you achieve your goals, and really empower you to become the person that you want to become. Today I speak about spark, the spark inside of you, the spark that could bring the fire in your life. I think that every single person has a choice what to do with a spark. Every single person has a spark in themselves. But some people want to hide a spark, bury the spark, like put in a vacuum, and that spark disappears. We're able to reignite that spark again. We're able to really make sure that that spark leads to fire. Really live a beautiful, fulfilled, meaningful life. And being able to focus on really what to do, how to find that spark again. I think that sometimes we lose a spark. I think that we start to believe that we do not have a spark. Sometimes we start to believe that we just live, we just survive. We just not dream anything, but we just live our life. I have heard people saying that. And even close friends and family members are like, at this point, I just don't dream, I just live and that's it. I think it's easy to lose a spark. It's easy to lose a spark. And I think that sometimes we need to be people who, okay, that person lost a spark. Let's create that fire inside so big that could inflame others and reignite other people's sparks to really dream again. Look for something more meaningful. Achieve better things. That is possible. I think that sometimes people have been in the water for so long that they forget that there is a fire inside of them. So today we'll share really what we need to understand about the spark. What we need to understand that inside the spark that we can really reignite it. I think that the first thing we need to understand that sometimes we lose the spark because we live the life not how we're supposed to live. And I think that the question that sometimes we need to be able to ask ourselves is, who I used to be before the world told me to act in a certain way? I used to be. I think that it's very easy to really reignite the spark when you live your way, not life's way. But when you're actually living a life based on society, based on norms, social norms, I think that at that moment it's very easy to lose a spark because we basically like pouring water on our life spark. And I think that leads sometimes that spark to disappear. And that spark is in every area. That means we can have spark financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, because every area has some sparks because we potentially could be succeeding in one area and failing in another. It might be that we are choosing to live our way in one area, but after that we're choosing to live someone else's way in other area. So that means that we're able to lose a spark in some areas of our life and not others. So the first thing what we need to focus on, the phase one, I think that we need to really burn the false self. Burn the false self. I think that's when we need to reignite the true spark in our lives. Sometimes we ask, okay, like I already shared a couple of days ago, who am I? Who I truly am. Because with this question, really be able to really reignite the spark. I think that we hide that spark so deep, and I think that's a lot of times people feel lost, but they don't feel lost. They just buried who they truly are under massive dirt, and the dirt is all other people advices, suggestions. I think that sometimes we start acting not in the way how we're supposed to act because we want to be loved by certain people. We want to be accepted by certain people. A lot of times we need to realize that those people that we want to be loved, we want to be accepted, not supposed to be in our circle in the first place. If they're not able to really accept and love the person who we truly are, that means why they're supposed to be. Now, I understand that we need to look into how to become the best version of ourselves. So if you want to be in that group, we want to really become the best version of ourselves, that is great. But we're supposed to be that unconditional love, that in that growth, we accept who you are right now, and we really encourage you to grow to another level. But not that when you say like you are not able to be who you are in this group, so you need to change who you are to be accepted. That, of course, is not not the place to be in. And again, this is we need to ask, what parts of myself did I need to silence to really live, to be accepted in this group? I think that when you silence yourself, that's when you start pouring water on that spark, and that you start to lose that spark. Every single time when you silence, when you didn't say what you wanted to say, when you didn't do what you wanted to do, when you did what you didn't want to do, you silence your spark. How many times you have done that? I think that when we do that every single week, I think that, again, I truly believe in incremental improvements. So that means if you do something that you do not like about yourself, maybe let's say that 50 times a week. Okay, let's make a goal. Let's do, instead of 50, let's do 45. Next week 40, then 35, then 30, then 25, 20. And at some point in a couple of months, you will not be doing that. Because I think that some people, it works to really make that massive shift immediately. But I think that what is truly sustainable is being able to incrementally change. And I always see that when incremental changes are sustainable and you will persevere, a lot of times when we're just moving back and forth between big, massive changes and not, a lot of times people go backwards. But I think that again, pretending. Do I need to pretend something that I'm not? Do I need to pretend to really live this life? Do I need to prove anything? And I think that those are questions that really great is to answer when you think about the spark, because every single time when you pretend, you destroy your authentic self. You destroy your authentic self spark. I think we do not need to prove anything. We need to prove, the only thing that we need to prove is to ourselves. Second phase, after like really burning your full self, we really need to listen to the whispers of our subconscious. Listen to whispers of our gut feeling. I think that we always have very, very strong intuition. I think that every single person has a very strong intuition, but some people lose an intuition because the intuition tells them what to do. But you don't listen to intuition, you start listening to other people's advice, you start listening for your logic, you start listening for other things, for suggestions, and you ignore your intuition. And when we ignore our intuition one time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, at some point, intuition loses the power, and we have very weak intuition. At that moment, when we really want to start really looking back into our intuition, looking back into true our desires, we start to need to listen to whispers in the moment, which just very whisper, because at that moment intuition is very, very weak. It just whispers, and being able to really spend time and listen, and I think that ask questions and start trying to listen to what that intuition tells you. What I always wanted to do, what I always wanted to create in my life. I think that those questions is very, very important. What I would do if I had the courage to do anything in life? What would I do? If I had courage, there's no chance to fail, and I have all the courage in the universe, what would they do? And I think that's just very, very powerful. And again, we can ask, like, even what I have called to do in this life. And I think it's very, very powerful to be able to ask questions, those that really recognize our intuition, that really allow us to listen our whisper, like, what would I do if I was not afraid? All those questions really allows us to really bring back the importance of that inner spark, because those questions, like, there is a spark in that. So what would I do if I was not afraid of anything? That means there's a spark sparkling right away in your mind. What would I do? What would I do if there's nothing? If I was not afraid of rejection, I was not afraid of embarrassment. A lot of times, because we start to accept our path, we don't want to say that, oh, I really want that. But if I would want it, what would that be? Because I think that sometimes we need to fight that denial. We need to accept that really we truly want that. And being able to really say, like, it could have been nice if I would that. Because sometimes I think that we need to really be able to really say that, okay, that would be nice. So how would they feel being able to achieve that? And I think that being able to really start slowly visualize the success, familiarize with the success, accept that it's possible for you. At that moment, I think that we're able to ignite that spark and really move forward. Phase three is find the edge. And I think that sometimes we are um, afraid of uncomfortable feelings. And when you think about fire, probably you know that when is a fire goes wild is when it's calm or is windy. Of course, when it's windy, the storms could go by, and it is very hard to stop fire when there's a massive wind. It reignites that fire. I think in our life is exactly the same thing. I think that we are afraid of storms, we are afraid of wind, we are afraid of adversity, we are afraid of uncomfortable feelings, we are afraid of stretching ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically. But sometimes that is required to really to reignite that spark into the fire, and really that wind, that adversity, that challenges that's going allows to really use that fire to achieve massive success and really go as a storm through life to achieve those results that we're looking for. I truly believe that people who are using that adversity as a fire always achieves much more because they are able to use as depressive thing or as an energy to go and destroy things in life in a good way. Destroy, because I think that we need to really go and pursue those big things and really pursue adversity, because I think that it's very important to do the things that reignite your fire. And what reignites your fire the most sometimes is those going through adversity, directly into adversity, just to make sure that we feel alive again. The last number four phase that I want to mention is that map out the mission, map out the vision. I really love this saying that if your vision doesn't scare you, it might be that your vision is too small. If you're able to achieve your vision with who you are right now, that means your vision is too small. The vision was supposed to be that big that you need to stretch yourself to become bigger, stronger. And if you want to become your bigger, stronger, that means you need to have a spark to really to use that fire to really go and pursue that version of yourself. And I think that when we really pursue that spark, you start to listen to that spark, we start to listen to that intuition. That spark leads to path. When you're on that path and you're taking actions, that path becomes your practice. You practice, 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 and that practice leads to presence. That is spark of that vision. That's where it starts. Sparks of that vision. That spark of that vision will lead to the path that leads to the vision. The path will require you to take actions, and you will use practice in those actions to make sure that the vision becomes your present. I hope you understand this. Quite simple steps: spark to vision, path to vision, practice to vision, and then presence becomes your vision. And of course, at that moment, we'll be able to adjust our vision just to make sure that we're able to become bigger version of ourselves and really achieve that big, meaningful vision again. And I think that's a very beautiful topic, spark. I think that's the first part. We need to understand that fire is so important, but at the same time, fire is dangerous. Fire is dangerous. That's why a lot of times people don't want to have that fire inside. They pour a lot of water on it. But I think that when we pour water on our fire, on our spark of life, we lose the joy, bliss. Because people who take risks, they win big. And that's why we need to reignite that fire, even though that will be risky, even though that there will be more chance to really fail, make mistakes, be judged, be not understood, not accepted. But I think that is such a better way of living. But I always say that, and I will always will say that it's better for me. It's better 1% chance, even less, to succeed than really live a mediocre life. This is not a life for me. to work 9 to 5 in one company and just is not with me. I really want something bigger. That always looking what is in that spark, and that spark told me that I want to make a difference. I want to really grow myself, improve myself. That I could be the person who inspires people to take action, decisive step, because I truly believe that every single person deserves to live a life based on their values and not be held back by their limitations based on emotional state, based on physical state, based on or financial state. So those are limitations that people allow those limitations to stop them from really pursuing that spark that tells them that they are able to make an impact as well. This is a very, very important. I probably will speak about Spark even more in the future because I found that I'm very, very passionate about that spark because that spark is always in me. And some days I used to really allow that spark to lose the power. And I don't want to lose that power. I don't want to lose that joy. I don't want to lose that bliss. I don't want to lose that meaning of reigniting that spark every single day to pursue the thing that truly matters. And I highly recommend for you to do the same. So I hope you choose to win and see you tomorrow.